It usually doesn't look like collapse. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It doesn't announce itself like some great tragedy. No, the kind of pain we're talking about here is the quiet kind. It's the ache you carry in your chest when you're laughing at a joke that doesn't land in your heart. The stillness you feel when the world moves fast and you don't know where you're supposed to go anymore. It's when people say, "You seem fine," and you nod, because that's easier than explaining a sadness that doesn't have a name. You still show up, still do your work, still reply to messages, cook dinner, remember birthdays, but somewhere between the small tasks and the deep breaths you don't realize you're holding, you feel yourself fading, not dramatically, just slowly, like a song playing too far in the background to recognize anymore. You wonder, when did I lose myself? Was it all at once? Or was it one invisible piece at a time? And maybe you've tried to fix it. You've read the books, listened to the talks, made the vision board. You've told yourself, be strong, be grateful, be positive. But strength without space becomes pressure. Gratitude without honesty becomes guilt. And positivity without depth becomes a performance. And somewhere deep inside, you know, this pain isn't here to destroy you. It's here to wake you. Because suffering, real soul-level suffering, doesn't come to punish you. It comes to pull you inward. It comes to peel away the noise, to shake the false skin off the self you've outgrown. It comes because something is trying to return to you, and maybe it's not clarity yet, not healing, not peace. Maybe it's just this, a quiet whisper inside your chest that says, pay attention. I'm still here. Pain changes you, but not all change is destruction. Some change is fire, and some fire, if you let it, doesn't burn you down. It burns you clean. You may not remember when it started. Maybe it was the betrayal that came from someone you trusted. Maybe it was a quiet loss, not of a person, but of direction. Or maybe it was that night you sat with yourself and realized you didn't know who was staring back. The kind of pain that doesn't just hurt, but unravels. I once knew someone gentle, soft-spoken, the kind of person who always made room for others. But when life broke her open, when everything she thought she could hold on to slipped through her hands, something strange happened. She didn't disappear. She deepened. It wasn't dramatic. She didn't come back with revenge or glitter or noise. She came back quieter and clearer. She spoke less, but meant every word. She smiled differently, like someone who had tasted fire and chosen to stay tender anyway. Because here's the truth, we're rarely told. Suffering doesn't make you harder. It doesn't make you colder, sharper, tougher, not if you move through it consciously. Real suffering softens you in the right places and strengthens you in the ones that matter. It doesn't build a warrior the way movies show. It builds the kind of soul that can sit in silence with another hurting human and say, I don't need to fix you. I'm here. And that is sacred. Because when you walk through the furnace and don't run, you don't come out as who you were. You come out as who you've been trying to remember this whole time. There's something strange that happens when we suffer, not just emotionally, but neurologically. Our mind rewires, not all at once, not like a flipped switch, more like a subtle remodeling that happens slowly, silently, while you're trying to survive. You begin to think differently, trust differently, move through the world with a different rhythm. Pain creates questions that comfort never will. It asks, what matters now? What do I need to let go of? And who am I without what I've lost? You start to notice things, tiny things, like the weight of words, the texture of silence, the way someone's eyes shift when they're pretending to be okay. Pain sharpens perception. It doesn't just make you feel more, it makes you see more. But here's the thing, that sharpening, it can go two ways. It can make you bitter, rigid, suspicious. Or it can make you clear, compassionate, discerning. I once heard someone say, pain is a scalpel. You can use it to carve yourself open or to carve yourself free. It all depends on what you believe it's here to do. If you think pain is punishment, you'll hide. If you think it's proof that you're weak, you'll pretend. But if you begin to see it as pressure with purpose, you might start listening. Not running, not fixing, just listening. Because pain is not just noise, it's a message. It's the part of you that still believes something better is possible even when the rest of you wants to give up. And that voice, as quiet as it is trying to rewrite the way you move through life, not to make you someone new, but to help you finally come back to someone true. Most people don't know what to do with pain, and how could they? No one teaches us how to hold what breaks us. We're taught how to hide it, how to smile through it, how to push it so far down it stops making noise. So we distract, we scroll, we keep busy, we explain ourselves away. I'm just tired. I'm fine. It's just a phase. But underneath the words, the ache remains. I once asked a friend, what's hurting you the most right now? And she stared at me like I'd asked something forbidden. Not because she didn't have an answer, but because no one had ever asked her the question without expecting her to tidy it up. We're so used to editing our pain, softening the edges, turning it into something palatable, digestible, safe for public consumption. But here's the truth. Pain doesn't need a filter. It needs a witness. It needs a space where it doesn't have to prove itself, where it's not rushed into a resolution, where it can just be without being called dramatic negative or too much. Because the more we rush to escape it, the more it roots itself deeper. Pain that is silenced becomes tension. Pain that is dismissed becomes exhaustion. Pain that is ignored becomes distance from others and from ourselves. But when you slow down long enough to say, I see you, I won't run this time, something shifts. Not instantly, not always visibly, but gently, quietly, the pain loosens its grip. Because like every part of you, it just wants to be heard. Not all suffering has to make sense, but all suffering can become something. Maybe not today, maybe not in a way the world applauds, but quietly, slowly, from within. Because pain, when held with presence, can become a seed, not a sentence, not a scarlet letter, not an identity, but a starting point. And the first way to plant it is to tell the truth. Not to everyone, not to social media, but to yourself. I often suggest this. When everything feels loud and confusing, grab a notebook. Not to write beautifully, not to journal for Instagram, but to dump. Write like no one will read it. Write like it doesn't have to make sense. Write the messy, petty, angry, lost parts. The things you censor even in your own head. Let it pour out raw, unfiltered. And then once it's there, on paper, read it back. Not as a judge, but as a witness. That pain, that chaos, that storm. It's not you. It's just the weather you've been walking through. And slowly, something happens. The words lose their weight. The swirl in your chest begins to settle. You start to see patterns. And with patterns come choices. You start asking, what am I ready to release? What deserves to stay? What new thing could grow here now that I've cleared the ground? Because transformation doesn't come from denying what hurts. It comes from repurposing it, like compost, like ash, like everything that once felt like an ending, becoming a beginning. You're not here to carry your suffering forever. You're here to plant it in fertile ground and watch what rises in its place. No one asks for pain. No one puts it on their vision board. No one lights a candle and whispers, "Let it hurt." And yet, when it comes, it doesn't come by mistake. Pain is not a punishment. It's an invitation, delivered messily wrapped in fire and almost always refused at first. But somewhere along the path, if you stop resisting, if you stop asking, "Why me?" and start whispering, "What now?" something shifts. I once met a woman who had lost everything. Her home, her job, a relationship she believed would last forever. When she spoke, it wasn't with bitterness. It was with stillness. She said, "I didn't want the pain, but now that I've lived through it, I wouldn't give it back." That's what made me realize the most sacred gifts are often the ones you'd never choose. Not because they feel good, but because they make you honest. Pain doesn't leave you the same. It strips away what was performative. It empties what was never really yours. It reveals what no longer fits, even if you were clinging to it with both hands. And in that space, raw and emptied, you begin to see what you've always carried beneath the layers: strength that doesn't shout, faith that doesn't need answers, love that doesn't beg to be returned. The gift is not that pain makes you tougher. The gift is that it makes you truer. And truth, even when it's quiet, will hold you better than any false comfort ever could. So no, you didn't want this. You didn't ask for it, but you are here now. And this might be the very beginning of becoming someone you were always meant to meet. Maybe no one will see it. Maybe there will be no applause, no finish line, no before and after montage. But somewhere between the breaking and the becoming, you will feel it. A steadiness, a clarity, not loud, but unshakable. The version of you emerging from the pain is not harder, not colder, not distant. It's truer, more rooted, more discerning, and somehow, despite everything, more open. You begin to realize resilience isn't resistance, it's presence. It's the ability to be with what is without losing what you are. You no longer need to be understood by everyone. You no longer fear outgrowing places that once felt like home. You no longer rush your healing because you trust its timing. And most of all, you stop trying to prove your worth by pretending you were never hurt. Because now you know you are not powerful because nothing broke you. You are powerful because everything did, and you are still here. More whole, not less. More compassionate, not cynical. More yourself, not despite the pain, but because of it. You've walked through fire and chose not to become ash. You chose to become light. And the world may never know the battles you fought just to smile again, but you will know. And that knowing, that sacred private knowing, is the quiet strength no one can take from you. Welcome back to the version of you that pain could not steal. No one tells you what healing actually looks like. They show you the glow up, the smile, the sunrise jogs, and green smoothies. But the truth is, real healing is quieter than that. It's you waking up one morning and realizing the thought that used to haunt you doesn't sting the same. It's sitting in the same place that once broke you and noticing you're breathing. It's hearing their name, seeing that photo driving past that street, and staying present instead of collapsing into the past. Healing is subtle, like roots growing underground, invisible to the eye, but strong enough to hold you through the next storm. It's not dramatic, it's not loud, and it's not always linear. Some days, you'll feel like a forest returning after fire. Other days, you'll feel like smoke. But you'll know deep down that you're not who you used to be. You've met your own darkness and didn't run. You've sat with sorrow until it softened. You've unlearned the belief that love must hurt to be real. And now you carry a power that doesn't shout, a wholeness that doesn't beg to be seen, a peace that no one else gave you and no one else can take away. This is what it means to survive beautifully, not to go back to who you were, but to become who you were always meant to be when the world had softened its grip on your spirit. So let this be your quiet truth. You don't have to become louder, tougher, harder to win. You are already powerful in your softness, in your presence, in your refusal to let pain be the last voice you hear. Welcome to the life that begins after you've come home to yourself.